Chris, would you like to read our first question
sure.
today?
Yay. I love to read. Oh my gosh, it's so much. LB, greetings from Sydney, Australia, John and crew. Been watching nonstop since movie blog days. Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery, slayed the box office this weekend with roughly $15 million on only 696 screens, with roughly $15 million, over the 5-day weekend, earning $4 million more than Devotion, which had roughly 2,500 more screens, and $5 million less than Strange World, which had around 3,500 more screens. Do you think this is a massive achievement for Netflix and shows when you have a movie that has great reviews, a great cast, and an interesting premise, people will go out of their way to see it? Hopefully Netflix follows suit and releases more of their movies on the big screen in the future. Thanks, John and crew, for the work you do. Wow, I haven't read in a minute. That was rough.
That was a long one, too. Thank you, LB. And listen, yeah, Glass Onion, you guys saw my quick other review to it. It's wonderful. I'm still not completely sure. You guys know how much I love Knives Out. I'm still not completely sure which one I like more. Like, that's how much I liked Glass Onion. There's a few things that it did even better than Knives Out. A few things Knives Out did better than Glass Onion. But overall, this was a wonderful, fun movie to watch. But the big interesting thing that's really hanging over Glass Onion, and really what makes Glass Onion so significant, is the fact that this was really Netflix's first little toe in the water to test the concept of what if we actually put these movies out in theaters? Like, not on 6 screens in New York and Los Angeles, but a significant number of screens, 600 screens, maybe close to 700 screens. What if we actually did that? Could that work for us? Could that do good stuff for us? All right. Now, you heard the numbers. They're saying that over the Thanksgiving Day weekend, Variety is kind of guesstimating here that the project in the movie probably made about $15 million, which is good. That's really good, especially when you consider just how few screens it actually played on. Now, we're going to jump over into my chicken scratch classroom here for a second, because the $15 million thing is good, but what we're really going to look at here is what I'm going to call per screen average. I did the wrong letter here. Let me try this again.
Just making it upside down A.
Per screen average, okay? What's the per screen average? So here's some interesting things. Of course, we had what's out there. We had Strange World, which, the only person in here who saw it was Taylor, and he didn't like it very much.
What?
Wait, you said it was boring.
Well, it just didn't live up to the expectations of a Disney movie. It just felt like, I don't want to say DreamWorks, but it didn't feel like up to the, I know, Shrek, but it didn't live up to the standards of what I was expecting from a Disney
This
movie.
Pixar film was a DreamWorks film.
Right. He specifically used the word boring. When
But a little boring.
But let's look at Strange World for a second. Strange World, when you look at the number of screens it had, which was 4,100 screens, okay? How much money did Strange World make per screen? The average is about $2,800. Is about how much Strange World made. Okay, now you had another big release, Devotion, right, with Jonathan Majors. That was on 3,400 screens. It made roughly about $1,700 per screen for the screens that I was on. If we look at another movie I absolutely love, The Menu. That movie, now granted, The Menu's in its second weekend, but still, The Menu made about roughly around $1,600 per screen. Okay. Glass Onion. It made, are you ready for this? $13,500 per screen. Woo. That was Glass Onion's per screen average. Even if you look at Black Panther Wakanda Forever, which was the number one film worldwide again, obviously. But even this weekend, it made about $1,000 or $10,000, I should say, $10,000 per screen. And that's the biggest movie in the world. Glass Onion made $13,500 per screen. I am telling you what is happening right now in the offices of Netflix. They are having strategy meetings now, because this changes things. This is exactly the type of information that the folks at Netflix were looking to see that they could garner, that they put it out in a limited number of screens for a limited period of time, They dip their toe in the water to say, would people show any interest in this if we did this? That's what this whole experiment was about, was Netflix finding out, can we gauge if there's actually interest in us doing this? And when you look at these numbers, where Strange World, a Disney animation film, which flopped, but still, $2,800 per screen. Devotion, $1,700 per screen. The Menu, $1,600 per screen. Even if you're looking at something like Steven Spielberg's The Fabelmans, which made about $3,400 per screen, that's great. Glass Onion made $13,500 per screen. And with another story coming out that we're going to talk about in a little bit here about Amazon going more theatrical, I am absolutely going to guarantee you in the next couple of months, we're going to hear about the next Netflix motion picture that they are going to do another experiment like this with, but maybe it's going to be a little bit broader, maybe be in for 2 weeks, maybe do 1,000 screens instead of 600. Then they're going to do another one. And I think within the year, we are going to be living in a world where Netflix is making full real motion pictures, giving them full real theatrical releases, and then putting them exclusively on Netflix after that. And we want to thank a sponsor of today's episode, Stamps.com. Guys, it happens every holiday season. No matter how prepared we think we are for the season, it always turns out we're nowhere near as prepared as we thought we were, especially with our shipping. And right about now, seasonal excitement, or dread as the case may be, is really starting to settle in, especially for small businesses. Slaying through traffic to the post office, inboxes more like a blizzard than a winter wonderland, rushing to send cards and gifts to your loyal clients. The good news is it's not too late to get your holiday mailing and shipping under control with Stamps.com. Sign up now and you'll be printing your own postage in minutes. Because Stamps.com is your one-stop shop for all of your shipping and mailing needs. Get access to the United States Postal Service and UPS services that you need to run your business right from your computer. Up to 86% off. So this holiday season, trade late nights for silent nights and get started with Stamps.com today. Sign up with promo code Campea for a special offer that includes a 4-week trial plus free postage and a free digital scale. No long-term commitments or contracts. Just go to Stamps.com, click the microphone at the top of the page, and enter the code Campea. Rob, I just don't know that if you're in the executive offices of Netflix right now, that you look at this as anything but a resounding success. I don't know. What do you take away from all
I
this?
think you look at it and be pissed. I mean, like what I was saying, and you and I have had this disagreement. They spent $450 million to buy this property. It's a property that grossed $300 million worldwide. Why they didn't treat this like a normal tentpole release that any studio would release, I do not know. By my calculations, they left $60 million on the table.
Wall Street Journal saying they left between $40 and $50 million on the table.
They left on the table. And this isn't even going to get an international release. And so you look at this, and I'm like, look, I totally.
But you remember
I
when they
agree.
bought it for $450 million, they had no intentions of putting it in theaters at all.
I know,
right?
I know, but I agree with what you're saying in that it's always good to be cautious, to not jump in, into the deep end of the pool.
Yeah, but I told you I would have given it a full theatrical release too. Like I agree with you.
Yeah,
I'm saying I kind of get where Netflix.
But
is coming
but I
from.
think of every single property of anything they could have possibly had, this was almost bulletproof in terms of a big release. And look, they're talking about not only this is in the top 10 releases of all specialty release movies that were released on 900 or less screens. The last time a movie, I think, was The Doors, Oliver Stone's The Doors in the early 90s. So this release was a top 10 release of the last 30 years of all movies released initially on 900 screens or less. This, to me, was a massive failure because, look, they didn't even have to spend more money on marketing. They just could have put it in 3,000 screens, which isn't like 4,000 screens. And how many markets? What I'm really interested in is, of those 600 screens, was it the top 50 markets? How many markets in the United States and North America where this opened? How many markets did they not open it in?
Many.
That they're missing out on. I mean, this like the Wall Street Journal said, I didn't realize they'd done an article on how much money was left on the table, but I think, like you said, very optimistic. They're like, what have we been doing? Like, why haven't we been releasing? I mean, one of our primary missions in life on this show, John, is to tell people that movies are given added value by good theatrical releases.
Yes.
Now, interestingly, though, The rest of the adult fare that was released this week did not do as well. And I think that's for other reasons. But I mean, this shows theatrical marketing and theatrical releases are important to the value of your product.
I agree, but let me ask you the question again. Whereas we understand that you thought they should have done a much wider thing, but with the results they got, what do you think their analysis of the results they've got is like? What do you think the move is next?
I would think that they got the results they already knew they were going to get. I don't think this was a surprise to anybody anywhere. I think now that somebody didn't want to lose their job, so they hedged their bets. And I think Ted Sarandos is like, why did you advise me to go easy on this when we just left money on the table? That's all they're going to think about. They're not going to think about how well the movie did because it was obvious it was going to do well. They released it in the perfect weekend or the perfect week. But I think, yes, they're now going to rethink their position and they're going to think, look, if we're going to spend $200 million or spend $450 million to acquire a franchise property, let's treat that property like a franchise, like the franchise it is. We have to do that. And even if we're going to make a movie like Red Notice, why are we spending $200 million and then not treating it like a $200 million movie? I mean, why don't we listen to David Zaslav over at Warner Brothers, who said, we're not going to spend a ton of money and release things direct to streaming when there's no way, you can't make any money back.
There's no financial model for it.
There's no financial model. It doesn't work.
Chris, you seeing these results? First, like I expected Glass Onion would do well.
Yeah.
I thought it would do well. The type of discrepancy we're seeing between what it made per screen as far as others. And again, if you had doubled the amount of screens, that doesn't necessarily mean Glass Onion would have doubled its box office. But
Yeah.
you look at these numbers, that's a staggering difference. That 13,500 per screen average is a staggering number. What do you think Netflix's takeaway from this is? How does this change course for them, if at all?
I mean, I think there's definitely going to be more conversations about we need to be in theaters. You know, Ted Sarandos on their November earnings call had talked about, you know, we are in the business of making movies seen on Netflix for our Netflix subscribers. He does not want to devalue the subscription. But we've seen time and time again, but that doesn't happen. When you have a movie in theaters first and then it goes to streaming, it does even better. So
it increases the value of the streaming. Yeah.
And so that's where I'm wondering where this discrepancy is. If I understand that you were a streaming giant. I understand that you were the first one. You were the pioneer of streaming to really get it going. But you got to adapt or die, really, is what works, you know? And so you have to make these changes. And this is a shining example of you have a great property. People want to see it in a theater. I know Taylor's screening was super fun, you were saying, and everyone got really into it.
Mine was great, too.
Right? Like, you want to be in a theater a lot of times, especially for a whodunit, so everyone gasps at the twist or the big reveal. And I think they're going to really have to rethink how they're showing their films, especially these ones they're putting so much money into. Are we going to see Princess Switch 4 on the big screen? No. But something like this, yeah, we should have these theatrically released.
You know what else, John, is that Netflix, unlike HBO that goes for this more prestige series, Netflix's series, the ones that hit, $18.99 is becoming one of their top shows, you know, for this week. Stranger Things, that would not have happened anywhere else but Netflix. I don't think it would.
Yeah.
I don't think HBO would have made it. It would have been so they should concentrate on bolstering their subscribers by making appointment streaming shows. And then they can make, for their marquee titles, they should go ahead and they've got the money to spend, but they should be a little bit more choosy and try and make films that are both spectacle and populist, like this is. So your movies, you can make the money theatrically to pay for what you spent all that money on, and then put them on your streaming show.
Interesting thing came out of IndieWire where they said that, you know, Netflix last year they made 100 films. 100 movies, 100 original Netflix movies, some of them acquired, some of them whatever, but under the category of Netflix original films, over 100. I don't expect we're ever going to see Netflix put out 100 theatrical films, but definitely pick out 7, 8, 9, or 10 every year that are your highest ones. Go for it. And I think that's your takeaway. Guys, question is for you. What do you make of these numbers that we've been getting out of this? Did you see there being that big of a success for Glass Onion? How do you think Netflix is going to proceed? Do you think they're going to change direction at all? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts.